Hello guys, welcome. This is a quick Photoshop tutorial on using its 3D tools to kind of create some 3D realistic kind of renders. So this is a render I've done from designed a 2D kind of beer mat, which has gone off and been made into physical beer mats, but then to the website I wanted something that was a bit cooler, had like a 3D element to it, and I thought trying to do it in Photoshop was easier than getting the physical beer mats, trying to set a scene, photograph it, light it. So I had to play around, worked out how to do this with its 3D tools. There's another one I need to do, so I'm going to do that now, and I thought do a tutorial and you can all see how I did it. Okay, so I'm going to be using Photoshop CS5. If you're on CS6 or any of the kind of Creative Cloud newer versions, you'll be absolutely fine to do this. CS4, I believe, maybe not, hasn't got the same 3D capabilities that came out of CS5. So if you're on an earlier version than CS5, you may not be able to do this, but anyone else? We're all ready to go. So this is the one we need to do today. So this raunchy little minx is the latest one, the Het and Harlot. So I'm going to be making, much like the other ones, a stack of 4, 5 kind of squiffly laid out beer mats with one standing up on top, and then we'll do some work around doing some lighting and some shadows and that kind of thing. Right, so what I want to do is start a new project. So File, New. I've already got this set, but it's only for screen. I'm not going to be printing this, so I have set my resolution to 72 dpi. I have gone quite big on the canvas just because I want to be able to zoom in, maybe view it full screen and that kind of thing. So, and I just prefer working a little bit bigger. I just find it a bit easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, is place my beer mat image. This one here. Oh, she's tiny. I think she'll be okay. Why, that'll be fine, we'll work with that. Okay, cool. So what we're going to be using is the 3D Represé tool. So across the top here, you'll see 3D, but Represé is not an option. Also, I have no idea if that's how you say Represé. I'm going to go with it. We're going to call it that. So we can't click on that at the minute. What we need to do is rasterize the layer. So over on the layers panel, right click, rasterize layer, and you'll see that you still aren't able to select the Represé tool at the moment. What you actually need to do is select the pixels for the image. So again, right click on the layer. This time we're going to click in the layer window, the little icon, not the layer itself. In the window you get a different menu option, select pixels. That then highlights, you can see we've got the dotted line highlighting our image. We can now Represé. So while that window loads up, as you can see, it's put a ground plane down. You may not see this at the moment. If you haven't used the Represé tool before, I think its default is to not show the ground plane. If you want to put that on, it's bottom left corner, this little icon here. If you click on there, you get a few more options. 3D ground plane, if you check that is selected, that will turn that on and off. I find it really useful, entirely up to you. What it will have done, I'll quickly show you and then I'll do this. Our depth is currently set to 1, which means that we can only see the front edge of it, but if we were to tilt it up, that's an incredibly thick beer mat. So I found that 0.01 is the ideal, but for now, just because I don't want it at that angle, I'm just going to quickly redo that. So yeah, all I'm doing here is just setting that to 0.01. Okay, so now I have a beer mat viewed from the top. Over here on the left hand side in my tools panel, I've got a couple of the 3D tools. So this is the camera tool here, so you can change the view from the camera, and this is the object tool, so that's physically moving the object around in the space. What I am going to do is view this from the top. So now, as you can see, we're looking straight down onto the plane, and this grey line here is the top edge of my beer mat. But what I want to do is lay it down flat on the ground. So if I select the object tool, and then from here, if I was to select, I want to view it from the top. Why has it done that? I know I want to view the front. That's what I want to view. I want to view the front, but from the top camera view. There we go. So if I go back to camera view, front, you'll probably see, yeah, we're floating in midair up here. So this red line is our ground, this grey is our beer mat, and what we want to do is join that to that. So 3D window, snap object to ground plane. Click. There we go. So we're right down here. And then just for ease, I'm going to go view top, so we're looking straight back down. There we go. Okay, now I want probably 4, I think, beer mats to be in the little pile, and then one above that sort of stood up on its edge. So easiest way, in fact, before we do that, so I don't have to do it individually to all the layers, if I was to zoom in on this a little bit, you can kind of see, I mean, the image itself has got texture on it, but it doesn't have that kind of beer mat sort of texture that I would like it to have. So what I want to do is add a bump, which is basically a texture. So if I go, what I want is my 3D window, which I don't have at the moment. So window, first one, 3D, click on that, that'll give you a toolbar here. Okay, so let me zoom back out of this. Okay, so within this 3D window, we've got all the different parts of our object. So this is the front, so this is the image we can see at the moment. We've got the front edge bevel, so that's if you wanted a nice sort of round edge or sharp edge, whatever. The extrusion is your side, so that's for us is the 0.01 thickness, and then we've got the back bevel in the back, but for today we're not bothered about that. So for the front inflation, what I want to do is add a bump to it, so a texture. So down here we have bump, and there's nothing selected at the moment, so what I'm going to do is load a texture. Now what I did is I just googled, what did I google? Cardboard texture bump, I believe, and 1,000 options came up, and I just chose the one that I liked. Let me have a look. So bump, there we go, and that basically gave me this kind of cardboardy looking image. I'll just quickly show you that so you get an idea of what you should be looking for. Something like this. So it's got a bit of texture to it. For me, that kind of sort of represents what a beer mat texture is. So back to our image, you can see it's now overlaid that texture, that bump to here. For me, that's probably a little bit too harsh. It looks, it should be a bit smoother than that. With bump, you can go right up to anywhere between sort of 0.1 and 10. I mean, 10 is quite extreme, as you can see here. That's sort of, really going to town on it. But probably about half, 0.5. So that's given it more of that sort of beer matted look I was after. I might go a little bit more. Let's try 0.7. There we go. I'm happy with that. I think by the time we've lit that and got a nice camera view on that, that will look good. Okay, so let's just zoom out a little bit. I'm happy with that. What I want to do now is create more of these. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and select both. So select, hold down Shift to hold more than one. I'm going to duplicate both of those. Okay, now that's my 4 that I'm going to put into the stack, and I want one more. Okay, so I've now got five layers of the same thing. Now what we want to do is merge these all into one 3D layer. Annoyingly, you can't, on CS5 anyway, you can't select all of them and then merge. You can only do 2 at a time. So select 2 of the layers, 3D menu, merge 3D layers. There you go. If I, for example, try and select 3, we cannot merge these here. So only 2 at a time. Okay, cool. So that's our 5 beer mats all merged together into one so it's one layer within Photoshop, but within that scene of Photoshop, in the 3D scene, sorry, you've got all the different ones here. Obviously, they've all got the same name, so I just duplicate the layer. We could rename them if you wanted to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want. For the purposes of today, just to keep this video as quick as possible, I'm not going to do that, but it is a good habit just to try and stay a bit organised. Okay, what I'm going to do is look at this from the front. So as you can see, this red line is our ground. So we've got our 5 layers. There was a gap between each one of a few mil. So I want to get rid of those. So I'm just going to lower the ground a bit, just so it's a bit more in my. There we go, just a bit more comfortable to work on. So what I need to do is select the individual elements of each beer mat, and I just want to squeeze the gaps together so they're all lying on top of each other. So to do that, there may be a better way of doing this. This is just the way I found out how to do it when I was not being able to work out how to do it. So I need to find, so this should be my bottom layer. This will be my next layer down. Yeah, if anyone knows of a better way of doing this, please do write in the comments because I'd like to know. So Represent, so select the beer mat that you want to move, or the whatever object you're using. 3D, Represent, edit in Represent. Okay, now down the side here, you've got the object move tools. So you've got rotate, spin, various other ones. So I'm just going to use the pan tool here, and then I can only move the one item I wanted. If I'd used the main 3D tools down in the right-hand column, the left-hand column, I'd be moving the full object. Also, all 5 of these would move as one, which is not what I do at the minute. Now, as you saw in the previous renders I've done, I quite like the stack of beer mats to be sort of random and squiffy, so that's why I've just slightly nudged this one off to the right. I'm going to do the rest now, and I will move them all over the place. Just they're a bit sort of more organic than just being stacked up nice and neat. So again, select the next one, 3D, Represent, edit. Pan, bring that down so it's lying on top, and go this way. Okay, and then same again for the next one. Right, okay, so I've moved my bottom 4 mats into a kind of stack, and I've got this one still floating in midair, but this one is the one I actually want to make my upright one that's going to be stood on its edge. So for now, what I'm going to do, if my computer doesn't crash, and it doesn't, is turn him off. So I'm just going to click the eye tool just to get him out of view. For now, I'm just going to look at these 4 and just get my kind of bottom stack how I want that. So I'm going to go back to the camera on the left here, and I'm going to click on the little drop down menu, and I want to view this from the top. So now I'm looking straight down onto the top of the cards. As you can see, they're kind of off center left to right, but up and down and kind of rotation wise they're all still pretty square. So I'm just going to select a couple at random, so maybe this one, go back to my Represent edit window, it goes for the pan tool, but now obviously it's going to pan in this kind of orientation, so I can move it up and out a little bit, and I'm going to spin him as well because I don't want them all to be square, so I might spin this one quite a lot actually, because I quite like when a little corner sticks out on the front edge. Yeah, something like that. That's okay for that one, and then I'm just going to spin one other one a little bit just to so maybe, is that the bottom one? So maybe then I'll do this one. Come on, there we go. Right, so I'm going to spin this one just a little bit, probably not even that much, just something like that. There you go, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now I've got my bottom stack how I like it. Obviously, normally I might spend a bit more time doing this and sort of tweaking it and getting it really precise, but for the purposes of today, I'm pretty happy with that. So I want to go back now to my view from the front. And again, I'm just going to lower this down in the window a little bit. just so I can see when I turn this one on. So this is what I want to make my upright card, so I'm going to select that from the scene. Again, back to the episode window. I want to use the top tool, which is the rotate tool. So I'm going to get that. I'm just going to drag this so it's kind of upright, how I like it. I want it to be quite upright, but leaning back slightly. Something like that. And then I want to move it up so it looks like it's resting on top of that top. Something like that for now, and we'll just double check, so okay on that. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my camera view, sorry, and I'm going to go for a straight on camera and just see how that looks, because that gives you a slightly more, yeah, okay, kind of happy with that. So let's do, we can choose our camera angle now, so I'm just going to rotate the camera round using one of the, all the rest of the series I've done of these are kind of this angle, so I want to get a bit of continuity on that, but again, you know, whatever floats your boat really. Choose something that you like, and I want slightly over that way, something like that. And then in here, what I want to do is you want to make sure that you've got your perspective clicked on. So these two boxes here, one is, as you can see, it starts sounding crazy. Don't touch that one. That should be kind of plan view, but okay, so we've got our window. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with the view of the angle, sorry, that I've got there from the camera. What I want to do now is add a bit of lighting to it. So in your 3D window, the fourth little widget across the top is the light bulb. If you click on that one, and you get these three. It'll always default to giving you infinite lights, which is fine, but I like to give it a bit more kind of drama. So if you change these to spotlights, or maybe just change one of them to a spotlight, you get a bit more of a direct light. You can, it just looks a bit more theatrical and cooler. So I am going to change this one down here to a spot, and you'll see this will jump into spot here. It doesn't actually change the name of this, but it is now under spotlights. You can rename these if you wish. Okay, so it's kind of just put it in its default position. Just for ease while I'm doing this, I'm just going to turn the other ones off so I can really see what this one light is doing. So I've got quite a harsh edge there. What I might do is just, with the arrows here, what am I doing? Because I'm on camera view here, that's not what I want on light view there. So this little icon here, with this little spinning arrow, has a tiny light bulb above it. That's now I'm going to move the light, not the camera, which I was doing before. So move the light where you want it. I want it to be a bit further away, if I can get it. My best advice for this is just kind of have a play, because there's various kind of things that you might find that you like or dislike. It can be a bit fiddly. Again, there's probably better ways of doing this. For me, this was all trial and error and just trying to work out what looked good, what didn't look good, what I liked. So this isn't by any means precision. Okay, let's go with that for now. What I am going to do is just increase the brightness a little bit, so it's at 0.9, kind of like 1.2-ish, something like that. And then I do want it to cast shadows. I personally like my shadows to be really soft, so I'm going to select maybe not quite that soft, somewhere around 80% for that one. And then what I might do is just leave one of the other infinite lights on, just so it's got something. On this one, again, I want it to cast shadows, but let's keep that soft as well, maybe 75-ish. There we go. I'm just doing this really quick and rough for today. Now I kind of want to see how that looks. So what I'm going to do is go back to this first little widget, click on scene, Now under quality, you'll see you've got three options. So interactive painting is the best one, which will be in for default. That's your one for kind of moving stuff around. Doesn't do any real big rendering while it's doing that, so the computer isn't going to fall over and die on you. But bottom one, ray trace final is your kind of, that's what you want to set to. That'll do all your shadows, all your fine detail and everything in there. So I'm just going to click on that, let it have a quick whiz through the rendering a couple of times and just see how that looks. So let's do that. We'll probably find there's no shadows on our floor. It'll only be casting shadows over itself, which if you want that is absolutely fine. Yeah, as you can see, it's only putting shadows onto the beer mats themselves. What I would really like is some shadows on the white background, so it then makes that kind of feel a bit more like part of the environment. So I'm just going to stop that, so just click anywhere to stop the render. If you go to 3D across the top, ground plane shadow catcher, if you select that one, that's just telling you that you'll only be able to view the shadows when you're in your best quality rendering mode, so the ray traced final, which is okay because we are. So now, there we go. That's quite dark. But for the purposes of today, that's fine. I'm alright with that. I would normally spend a lot longer tweaking that and getting that really nice. I'm not particularly happy with how flat it looks behind the cards, but to be honest, it's fine. I might just soften it a little bit more. When you're in this mode, any change you make is going to try and re-render, so you're best to move it back, which I haven't done. Otherwise, every time you do a change, it starts doing this again. For now, let's leave that. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to go back to here, and I'm going to change my scene to be interactive again. So we'll lose the shadows for now, but we know that they're there and working. Okay, so go back to the camera. The one thing I'm not overly fussed about at the minute, I think the angle's not quite right. I'd like it to be a little bit lower, and I'd also like to add some depth of field. So what I'm going to do is just rotate the camera a bit, just to give us a bit of a kind of lower angle. Something like that, I think. I think that just gives it, if you're doing something from a lower angle, just always makes it look a bit more dramatic, so which is exactly what you want from your beer mats. Right, okay, so depth of field. So I'm going to click on my custom camera view. What I might do is a tiny bit closer, so this is my field of view, so I might cheat it a little bit to 75. That'll do. Okay, so depth of field blur, this is the amount of blur you have, so if I just click on there you'll see obviously the whole thing's blurry at the minute because we haven't set a distance, but this is kind of the maximum amount of blur that you'll experience. For me, probably, I don't want it to be overly blurry. Let's stick it at 2 for now, and then we'll set a distance and see how that looks. So setting a distance is just, you need to just sort of keep tweaking it until you find the point where what you want is in focus. For me, I want obviously the main face of this to be sharp, and I'd like these front edges down here to be blurry, so that's not looking too bad. I might just see what else for a bit further. Cool, yeah, so that's kind of slightly blurry on this front edge here, but the back edge, and certainly you can read everything. So I'm quite happy with that. I could just tweak a bit more blurring, but I think it starts to just look a bit false once you go too crazy. So let's stick with 2.2. See how that looks. Right, cool. So let's go back, change this back to Ray Trace Final and see what we've got. Now this blue box that kind of keeps going across will take as long as it needs to render this out fully. It can take ages and ages depending on the amount of complexity you've put into your artwork, but also obviously speed of your computer and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do, initial looking at that, I'm quite happy with how that's looking, so I'm going to leave that. Like I said, if it was something I wasn't doing on a tutorial, I would spend a lot longer just tweaking things and making it right. But I think for the purposes of today, you kind of get the idea. I've shown you a few things there, so I'll leave this rendering. We'll see how it looks when it's finished, but I hope this has been informative, and if you've got any questions or anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment below. I will happily respond to anything. If I've missed stuff or gone too quickly over things, or you've just got getting stuck or you've got any questions, please do just give us a shout and I'll happily get back to you. There'll be more tutorials to come, more Photoshop, After Effects. We're doing a series at the moment on Google Web Designer as well, which is a really good free little bit of software. So yeah, worth looking out for that if you're into your web stuff. And we're also going to be doing a few things about some of the more practical projects we've done with Raspberry Pi programming, various lighting installations, AV installations, all sorts of things that we've done with projection mapping. Plenty to come, so please subscribe. If there's anything you want to see, particularly then if you tutorials that you've been trying to find on the internet and you can't find them anywhere, if we can, we will help. Just let us know and we'll see what we can do. But thanks for watching, and see you next time.